Good evening, everybody. My name is Mar Seser, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. Before we begin, I have form procedures that were agreed upon today that I'm going to read to you. It should take about 3 minutes, so please bear with me. I, the moderator, am from the League of Women Voters from outside of the district from which the candidates are from. Candidates' opening statements will be determined by drawing lots before in-person events. The same order will be for opening statements. Each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes for an opening statement. After all candidates have spoken, I will open the meeting with questions from the audience. Cards will be handed out for written questions. These will be vetted prior to being asked so that duplicative, personal, abusive, or biased questions can be discarded. The moderator will be the arbiter of whether questions are appropriate, repetitive, or abusive. Each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to answer each question. At the moderator's discretion, the time for a response may be reduced as long as it is the same for everyone. There will be no rebuttal. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or to candidates in general, although the candidates will be given an opportunity to answer any question addressed to a specific individual. I will attempt to rotate the order of responses for each question. A league member will act as timekeeper. 1.5 minutes from the end of any given time period, the timekeeper will alert the speaker by a pre-arranged signal. When the time is up, the speaker will be allowed to finish the sentence. Repeatedly speaking past the deadline may result in a candidate losing time for a future question or for others getting additional time. Candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and since the purpose of the meeting is to determine the candidate's views, no substitute speaker will be allowed to appear should a candidate be unable to attend in person. No written or recorded statement may be provided in lieu of active participation by a candidate. Forums require 2 or more candidates to be present for each seat. The use of props, charts, or visuals, and the display of campaign literature is prohibited. In accordance with the league policy, the league owns the content of its forums. Audio or video recording by authorized members of the media will be permitted only if it is agreed to by all candidates present. The league maintains the right to record the forum and publish it on the League of Women Voters controlled electronic pages. No other recording will be allowed. No partial transcript or recording may be published without written permission from the league. As Regina has said, we are here tonight because we believe that citizenship requires both voter education and civic engagement. We believe that the responsibility for maintaining good government rests on the voters. So we have expectations for you. Please be sure that your cell phones are turned off or silenced, and please do not block the doors or the camera. Your purpose is to hear from the candidates, so let's focus on their voices and not on yours. Please remain seated and silent during the question and answering, unless you are submitting questions. As moderator, I will stop the debate if the audience interruptions reduce the time for candidates to speak, and we are here to listen to them. To repeat, league policy permits only authorized recordings of these forums. Taking clips or segments is not authorized. Any audience member who violates the agreed procedures for the forum or who disrupts the forum by ignoring these audience expectations after being warned may be asked to leave. Okay. Tonight, we will be hearing from the 2 candidates vying to be your representatives. We are hearing from Ms. Mariann Dalimonte and
Dave Franklin.
Dave Franklin. Okay. When the candidates arrived, you did draw straws, and it looks like Ms. Dalimonte will go first. I'll now ask the audience to applaud briefly after each candidate's opening statement, and then hold applause and other responses until after the closing statements. Ms. Dalimonte, please begin.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, to everybody who is here with us tonight for what I hope to be an informative debate. My family has lived in Port Washington for 4 generations. My husband, I think 6 or 7. I am a homeowner here. I raised my kids here and sent them to school here. I'm running for re-election on the town council because I want to continue to help strengthen our community so that the next generation can live, thrive, and raise their families here too. I am absolutely not a career politician. I originally worked in the music industry where I was responsible for keeping costs in check, creating policies and procedures that kept our spending down. I left that career to become a stay-at-home mom to 3 children. Well, that's when I embraced my role as a dedicated community activist. Over the past 19 years, I've collaborated with numerous passionate leaders, all while staying true to my authentic self. When I was approached to run in 2019 by former Supervisor Judy Bosworth, I jumped at the chance because I truly love this community and wanted to make sure that everyone had a voice. I've been knocking on doors every week and getting to speak to so many of our neighbors. The number one question they keep on asking is, why do you want to do this again? The answer is easy. I'm doing this for our community. I can't state strongly enough that we need to have someone in office that truly cares and will advocate for us. I have given and will continue to give all my constituents a place to be heard because Town Hall needs to hear your voice. I am transparent, accessible, and I truly care. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with you here tonight so we can hear more about District 6. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Franklin. Thanks again, as always, as Mariann said, to the League of Women Voters. We appreciate everything you do to keep the public informed. Before I start, I would like to take a moment and just remember the people in Israel who were brutally slaughtered. If we can just take a moment. Thank you. I'm only a 36-year resident of Port Washington, so I guess I'm a rookie.
You're not a clam digger.
No, not a clam digger. But I grew up in Jersey City, and it was spread out wide. It was just a ragtag community. Coming to Port Washington was my first true sense of community, that I found out what life was supposed to be all about, and I got involved. I was part of the Port Washington Crisis Relief Team during Hurricane Sandy. We set up shelters for the people. We set up, and we were at the Landmark Theater. We had TV, we had charging stations, we had food delivered, just to give people some sense of normalcy. I'm a charter member of the Hibernians. I'm with the Knights of Columbus. I am with the Kiwanis. I'm with the Lions. I'm with the Sons of Italy. I do red stocking to make money for cancer care. I also am with the Community Synagogue Theater Program. There are no kids in the place, right? I'm Santa Claus. I was professionally Port Washington. I was the police commissioner in Port Washington for 9 years. I was with HBO for 36 years. I'm not a professional politician either. I'm all about public service. 13 of those were as shop steward, representing the people, representing the rank and file for their needs. I'm an advocate of just people over politics, as I said. I am part of St. Peter's Parish, and I have been for 35 years. I'm a lector. I'm part of the parish council. I'm one of the parish trustees, and I am presently the Deputy Commissioner of Parks and Recreation for Nassau County. I have the experience in government. I have the experience in the community to get this done. As I said, my motto is people over politics, and I'm just looking to make a difference. Thank you.
Mr. Franklin, the first question will go to you. Okay. With the large increase in traffic on major and town roads and the mixed ownership of roads between the town of North Hempstead and Nassau County, how do you plan to increase pedestrian and child safety throughout the town of North Hempstead?
Well, we have to educate the drivers, first of all. Sadly, we had this discussion the other night with the Port Washington the park section, the civic section, you cannot govern attitude, but we have to teach people that stop signs are not suggestions, that they are laws. We have to teach kids not to be looking down on their phones when they're crossing the street or walking down the street. It's traffic. We had a discussion also about possibly for schools, making some of the streets one way during school hours, or at least during the pickup and drop off, to alleviate some of the traffic problems as well. A lot of it is just educating the public, and there's nothing you can do really to widen the roads. And the police department, I know, Commissioner Meyer is here. We discussed this last night as well. Just getting the police out there and then being more active and pulling the people over. And maybe when it hits them in the wallet, they'll start to understand that it's time to pay attention.
Ms. Dalimonte.
Oops, sorry. So first, when I came to the town in 2020, it was a pandemic, but I found that there was a grant that the town of North Hempstead had for many, many years. It literally went from Port North to the school district, and then finally went to the town of North Hempstead. And it was just sitting there. So I get things done. I said, we are doing this. We added a sidewalk for the children that walk to Guggenheim. We also did work at Daly, and we also did work at Salem. And it was the Safe Routes to School program. And we worked with that program, and I made sure that that project got done that was sitting there for for a very, very long time. Also, I have a very good working relationship with the police. Literally, I am on the phone with them probably every day. Today, probably about 10 times. I work very well with them. I have a round table that is a bunch of civic organizations in the town. There's about 35 members, and we talk about police activity and safe routes to school. And the next one, that when I am reelected in November, will be in January, and that will be with the school district and the civic associations all over the Port Washington. So I saw my thing come up, stop, so.
At least somebody pays attention
It's hard,
to stop signs.
yeah.
Right?
I pay attention to stop, we pay attention to stop signs.
All right, the next question is for Ms. Dalimonte.
Okay.
How do you feel about the multi-level building proposal at Bar Beach Road?
So I am an elected official, so I am going to tell you what I am allowed to say. I have major concerns about 145 West Shore Road. To put sewers down there would cost over $18 million. That is right on our Hempstead Harbor. As everyone knows, I am trying to clean up the harbor and the bay. Putting a 7-story unit there with 170, I know Edda's going to correct me, 171 or 172 units, thank you, is absurd. I have major, major concerns. And that is why I have made sure that the community has been informed of everything that is going on in my newsletter. Literally, when I put out something regarding 145 West Shore Road, it gets its own newsletter. So I have been keeping the community involved and letting everybody know what is going on. I don't want to see that stop sign.
Same question, Mr. Franklin.
I agree with Mariann that it's unnecessary, not just for the sewers, but we're pretty crowded enough as it is. What it's going to do to the traffic, what it's going to do to the school systems. All right, we can't handle that. We had the question before about schools, about safety on the streets and safety on the sidewalks. All it's going to do is add more cars, or more cars rushing to the train stations in the morning. I think it's a bad idea, and I'm against it. I didn't get the 30-second one on that one.
Okay, Mr. Franklin, do you have an opinion on the IDA, the Industrial Development Agency, in rental buildings?
Again, I'm going to go back to where we are. If one of the things I do oppose is the Hochul housing plan. I'll come out and say that. They're looking to do top-down authorization. They want to take care of all our planning, all our zoning. That's something that needs to be done at the local level. Do we need more housing? At what point do we get too crowded? At what point are we full? This is something we have to discuss, not just on the board, but with the community as well. You look at Main Street, you can't get through there during rush hour. You can't get through there at night. It's insane. You see what happens with the trucking now. You know, if we're going to get more box stores because we have more people, at some point you're full. I mean, if we do come up with housing, it's got to be done sensibly, and it's got to be done locally.
Dalimonte.
So Governor Hochul put out a plan to eliminate all of the local codes for housing. I am completely against that. I sent a letter to Governor Hochul stating that I was completely against that. Do we have a housing crisis? Yes. But what needs to happen is we need to bring the police, the school, the town, everyone together in a room and decide here what is good for our community, what is good for Port Washington. Because what is good for Port Washington might not be the same to our neighboring town, what is good for Roslyn or what is good for Manhasset. Every community is different. And that is the most important thing. Now, I do know the question was about the IDA and building for rental. I'm assuming the question is that they want to know if the IDA should be giving taxpayers money for rental. I'm assuming that. I don't know. But it depends. It would have to be for the right fit.
All right. Traffic is a problem. What plans do you have to reduce it? Yeah. Excuse me. Okay. All right. As you have had previous experience, Ms. Dalimonte, with the business district, which has had continued problems with the town of North Hempstead Building Department. Is there a reason why forces have not been joined with the town supervisor in her efforts to fix these issues with the building department?
So I would like to first start off that whoever answered that question, please go back to, I believe, April board meeting of last year. I called on the supervisor to set up 2 task force. One task force would be to bring community architects, engineers, electricians together to go over our code. The next task force was to bring everyone together to go over the procedures, okay? So can we do better with our building department? Yes. Also, I stood with the supervisor at her press conference when she called on for an audit by the Nassau County Comptroller. So I have stood with her on that press conference. Regarding the BID, just so you know, we are strong in Port Washington, if you did not know that. In 2020, during a pandemic, we had 9 businesses open. During a pandemic, keep in mind, in 2021, we had 17 businesses open. 2022, we had 22 new businesses open. In 2023, so far, we have had 16 businesses open and more on the way. So I sit on the Business Improvement District Board, just like my 2 predecessors did, and we are doing everything we can. I have followed Smushed to get open. Yes, there were problems, but we worked on it together. And I will sit with any business that wants to come in here and do and go through the process with them.
Mr. Franklin.
We do have businesses that are opening. We do have some that are closing as well. Ivory Kitchens is closed. They couldn't sustain here in Port Washington. We still have a lot of empty storefronts. Port Washington is a destination. We have to give people a reason to come here. There are restaurants, there are a dime a dozen in every town. You can't just come for the restaurants. People may come for the antiques. We have to give people a reason to come to Port Washington. I'd like to see utilizing the Landmark Theater for entertainment. I think entertainment is going to be key to bringing people here. I'd like to advertise on the railroad to make sure that people come and then utilize public transportation, and possibly when they're walking from the train station down to Landmark, they frequent one of the stores that we have or some of the businesses that we have. Opening a business is nice, but it's sustaining it that we have to work on. We have the box stores that most people shop in that takes away business from the stores on Main Street as well. We have a parking problem on Main Street. People can't get to the center of town. They can park up by the train station, they can park down by the town dock, but the middle Main Street seems to be losing. So there are a lot of things we have to work on, but it's getting people to come to Port Washington that's going to help the businesses.
In the event the position of supervisor is won by the candidate of a party opposite of your own, how do you plan on working with them to accomplish needed work for the town and, more importantly, your district?
That's mine.
Yes.
As I said, my motto is people over politics. I don't care whose idea it is. I don't care who came up with it. If it's a good idea for the town, we've got to implement it. There's got to be compromise. It can't be one-sided. It can't be left against right. It's not right against left. It's right against wrong. And if it's right for the town, it's got to be implemented. We've got to work together.
Ms. Dalimonte.
So when Supervisor DeSena started, I actually set up a breakfast with every single mayor in District 6 for her to meet and to introduce. I had every intention on working with Supervisor DeSena. If she wins, I have every intention of working with her again. But I do my research. If I think something is bad for the town that could put us in jeopardy with New York State for alienation of parkland or anything like that, I am not going to vote on it. But also it goes both ways. You have to also have someone in that position that wants to work with you. I have had many emails that have not been returned, many phone calls that have not been returned. I am more than willing to work with anyone that's in that spot as long as they're willing to work with me.
Thank you. Ms. Dalimonte, do you believe climate change is man-made and a crisis?
So, what was it, a week ago? We had a storm. Every 5 seconds, Harbor Road's closed, Mill Pond's closed, this is closed. Climate change is real. We need to protect our environment. We need to be the voice for our environment. The earth does not have a voice. We need to be the voice. And we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can. That's why I really worked hard to bring Pedal Share to Port Washington. It's a bike share program that I just filmed a video yesterday. Instead of getting in your car to go to Manhasset, I could take the bike, ride it to the train station, get on the train, and then go to Manhasset. There are so many things that you can do. We need to take care of the earth. It is here for all of us. I want the earth to be here for my grandkids one day. So my thought to everyone is we need to take care of everything. We need to have a tree canopy. We need to make sure that everything we do, I'm sorry. Oh, I did? Okay. I thought you were, so we just need to make sure that we protect our property. And with these intense storms, we really need to do something. We are having flooding issues in Port Washington, and we need to put money in our budget for flood mitigation. For flood mitigation. Thank you.
I give you 10 seconds of my time.
Thank you.
I'm not a scientist or a climatologist, so I can't comment. There are varying opinions on both sides. There are current changes. There are currents that affect what happens. We've had storms that come here. We have most storms that pass us by. It's just by chance. I see now that with the El Nino, we're expected to have a brutal winter. This is part of the earth. I mean, the earth has been here for billions of years, and the earth does have a voice because if we screw up, there'll be an ice age. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue the fact that we do need to do more as far as conservation, as far as energy, and do our part not to pollute. But as far as I can't intelligently comment on climate change.
The next is a two-part question.
Okay, let's write it down. Part one.
I'm happy to repeat.
Okay.
For each person. Okay, the first is for Mr. Franklin. Have you any plans to improve services in the animal shelter? And part two is, what can be done to stop the rising tide of feral cats in the town?
Okay. I'm an animal lover. I'm a cat lover too. We've owned 12 cats over our time here in Port Washington. I would say that the catch and release program that a lot of people are talking about makes sense. The catching the cats and then having them spayed or neutered and then re-releasing them so it doesn't regenerate a problem. You're always going to have ferals. One of the problems that you have with ferals, people I've spoken with, is they're very hard to domesticate. So it's not like you can adopt a feral, but at least what you can do is stem the tide of propagation with the ferals. That's it.
So the animal shelter, first, I'd like to thank all the volunteers from Shelter Connection down there and our employees. I have a grant right now that I'm working on to improve the animal shelter down there. I do know that the engineers were down there today yesterday with the executive director regarding the feral cats. So we have 2 programs currently right now at the town of North Hempstead. At the last board meeting, I co-sponsored with Councilwoman Veronica Lurvy a voucher program to add another program for feral cats. When I received the 2024 budget, there was no money in there to continue that. I will be advocating to continue that voucher program. Please understand, our animal shelter does not just take care of the residents in the unincorporated area. Our animal shelter has to take care of all of the villages as well. And there are serious feral cat problems in the village of Manor Haven and I believe the village of Great Neck Plaza. So it's not just the unincorporated areas the animal shelter takes care of. It is all of the residents, 240,000 residents.
All right, next question. The topic is, and this is for Ms. Dalimonte, the town of North Hempstead fiscal responsibility and accountability. The town of North Hempstead has the highest debt per capita statistic compared to 4 other neighboring towns. How do you plan to be fiscally prudent for the town of North Hempstead?
So there was a resident that came to me and wanted to meet with me on this. So everyone has to understand this, that the town of North Hempstead debt includes the special districts. So all of the debt to get the 1.4 dioxin out of our water that the water district or the sewer district, when they go to bond something, or the police department, they bond through us. So by looking at the debt, it is not just town of North Hempstead debt. So that is very, very important that you understand that. So think of all the water districts that had to do work on their pumps. All of that debt is under the town of North Hempstead. So when you're looking at that, you have to be very, very careful and understand that is not just, even though it's in the town of North Hempstead, is not just town of North Hempstead debt. So that is really important to understand. Also, for our capital projects, what we should be doing right now is using our fund balance to, instead of bonding for those projects, we should use our fund balance for the revenue for our capital projects.
Mr. Franklin.
Using the fund balance is one way to do it. We need to find creative ways of generating revenue for the town. As I said, if we can get people, we need to get tourism here. We need to get jobs on Main Street. If the businesses can be sustained, then you have taxpayers that are working in the town and living in the town. There was a program for revitalizing North Hempstead Beach Park, wasn't there? Did you get a check for $1 million or something from the state that was never moved on?
This is about debt.
I understand that. I'm talking about generating, and what I'm talking about is
The only questions that can be asked.
Okay, sorry. I was just for point of reference, not an attack or anything. Just creative ways to generate revenue to offset the debt as well. I know we have money in the town balance.
Next, for Mr. Franklin.
Okay.
Let's see. In your opinion, and in light of state policies and programs, What are the top 3 critical issues facing the town of North Hempstead? What plans would you put in place to address or mitigate your identified issues and why? How would you pay for the action items in your plans?
Well, I think taxing is part of the problem. I think people are overtaxed. One of the ways we can help people, especially in light of what's happening in the country, that the prices are crazy. I don't know, the last time you went to the grocery store, I spent $100 for 2 bags. I used to be able to fill half the car with it. There's got to be a way to try to offset that cost for the people. We can reduce the taxes. I know Supervisor DeSena last year presented an 11% tax cut.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry.
Okay. And then it was cut down to 5% by the board. I know this year she's got a tax cut in place as well. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of money in the reserve to give back to the people. I mean, taxation is part of the problem. One of the reasons why people are leaving, why people are having so much trouble here. I think one of the problems, fortunately, because of our police department, crime is not an issue. Safety is not an issue. It's simple things. Well, not simple, but people that are running stop signs and people that are on cell phones. You know, if those are the greatest of our worries, then we're okay. It's just, the other thing is just getting, working together, getting a board that will work together and not against each other. We have so many problems. If you've been to a board meeting, it's just, it's fighting. There's no room for politics at this level. We've got to get a better solution. We've got to work together. It can't be left against right. It's got to be about what's best for the town. That's my biggest concern, is getting the board to work together again.
So I just have to say something. In the 2022 budget, there was actually, and you can go to the tape of the board meeting, it was submitted a tax increase of 2%. So DeSena received a bad headline from the news, so then she went and tried to illegally change it. The budget has to be submitted by the law by September 30th. The budget that we received was a 2% tax increase. Then tried to say that she did not know about the money in the fund balance. That was not accurate. Her senior staff knew about the money in the fund balance. They presented in March of 2021 to Moody's that we had fund balance. So I need to clarify that. We worked as a board from the 2% tax hike to a tax cut of 5%. Now I'll go to the question. Lower the cost of living, defend our local environment, and protect our quality of life. And if whoever asked that question, I'll be more than happy to discuss that further, because I got to stop.
You have 20 seconds left.
I get worried when I get the first one. It's like a warning.
You can have as much time as you need. Come on.
All right. Ms. Del Monte,
Yes.
are you concerned about the Great Neck Park District lease that requires the Village of Kings Point to alienate 5 acres of parkland in Kings Point? And how would you handle this issue?
Okay, so I do remember hearing something about this, but I am one that I do my research. Oh, I'm sorry. I do my research. So I really I don't know what they're alienating it for. I thought that they were going to make the Great Neck Park District, they were going to do parking, and there was going to be more land for the park. So before I vote on something, I really want to make sure that I do my research, I cross my T's and dot my I's. So I feel like I would have, whoever asked this question, please let me do my research, reach out to me in the office, and I will be more than happy to give you my answer. I don't know that yet.
I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with the project, so there's nothing I can comment on. You had more time.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is for Mr. Franklin. What do you think are the primary goals, fiscal, monetary, and management responsibilities of a town council member?
Keeping the budget in check, making sure that the spending is accurate and necessary. We can't spend everybody's money frivolously. This is, it's not a gift. We're spending taxpayers' money. We're spending our own money as well. We've got to be a little bit more frugal. We have to tighten the belt in some points. We have to take a look at where there's excess. You know, if there's excess staff somewhere, it may be time to trim a little bit of the fat. But I think keeping an eye on the taxpayer money is job one, making sure that the money is spent properly, that the jobs that it's spent on are done properly and given to the right people. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the lowest bidder plan, because the lowest bidder doesn't always do the best job. There's something that's got to be, I would amend, that you can choose from the top three and do some research. It should not necessarily just be the lowest bidder, because then you end up doing the same job twice if you get less than quality. So it's just making sure that the taxpayer money is spent properly. Thank you.
So just so you know, at the town, it doesn't go to the lowest bidder, it goes to the most responsible bidder. So that's very important. I feel that advocate for the residents, protect the quality of life. You also are passing legislation. I passed legislation for the volunteer firemen, I shouldn't say volunteer firefighters and EMT. I sponsored that legislation to give them a tax break of 10%. They are volunteers. They are there. When your house is on fire, they're running into that house. They are there to protect us. So finding ways to do things in legislation. The Port Washington Police Department came to me. They needed legislation on urination. No one was able to give it to them. I did it. I passed it for them. And now Baxter Estates just passed it. So it's listening to your residents who have quality of life issues and then trying to pass legislation for them to have a better quality of life.
There have been rumors, this is for Ms. Dalimonte, there have been rumors that you have not been making full disclosures regarding your actual and/or appearance of conflicts of interest. Unlike the manner that the previous council person for District 6, who made it public and/or recused herself from voting on issues coming in front of the town of North Hempstead board meetings, you have not done the same. Can you explain why you have not? And secondly, for Mr. Franklin, what conflicts do you plan to disclose, and will you recuse yourself?
So I go first?
Yes.
So whoever asked that question is not doing their research. I have recused myself. My predecessors have been on the Business Improvement District Board. I am on the Business Improvement District Board because I was nominated from the town board. I represent the town of North Hempstead on that board. And I believe this has to do with Sunset Park. So my predecessor, Dina DiGiorgio, and also my predecessor before that, Fred Pollack, also advocated for taking over Sunset Park. So it has been done. I have recused myself when they talked about it. And the Code of the Ethics Committee for the town of North Hempstead reviewed it, and they said I'd even have to. I don't even have to recuse myself. So I was going over and beyond what the Ethics Department even wanted. So one thing, if you know me, I am an honest person. I am a straight shooter. I will never. I grew up in this community. I am fourth generation. I am not doing something to hurt my reputation, my husband's reputation, or my family's reputation. I love this community too much to ever do anything like that. And please, if whoever asked that question, come speak to me, because you did not do your research. And that's important. You have to do your research when you're asking questions like that.
Mr. Franklin, as to not be duplicative, there are two questions that overlap a bit. It says, if elected, will you resign from your full-time job with Nassau County?
No, I spoke with an attorney and said I didn't have to, because this is a part-time job. As far as transparency goes, I was the one that asked the question as far as the conflict of interest. We were at a board meeting, I think it was the last board meeting, and there was a question that came up on the board as to whether or not there was a conflict of interest. The town attorney said he wasn't sure that it was a question for the Board of Ethics. I sent a letter to the town attorney. I have copies if anyone would like to see it. It was posed as a question. It was not a complaint. He said it was a question for the Board of Ethics, and nobody seemed to move on it, so I took the initiative and moved on it. The decision was made, and that was it. There was no conflict of interest. To me, that's end of story.
Mr. Franklin, in an interview with Blank Slate Media, you seemed to cast doubt on the results of the 2020 presidential election, saying that you're not sure if the truth will ever be known. Please explain your position on the 2020 election and election denial more broadly.
There were so many people. The question was posed as to whether or not there was any fooling around, I guess, and nobody will ever know. And that's the way, exactly what I posed. There were people that think that there were ballots added. There were people that think, that there weren't. You don't know, but the election results are final, and that's the end of it.
Not sure if Ms. Dalimonte is able to answer this question.
You got it if you want to.
About the election?
Yeah.
The election is election.
Yeah.
Biden is our president. End of story on that. But I would like to just say, am I allowed to still talk? Is this still, okay. So my opponent said complaint. In the press release that went to the press, it was listed, I think, 5 or 7 times, the word complaint to the ethics. The town attorney, and it was 2 board meetings ago, the town attorney did state that he does not believe that there is a conflict of interest. But if you want, you could bring it to the Board of Ethics. That was just the question, right, about if Biden's our president? Okay.
That's fine.
You elaborated a little bit, but that's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dalimonte and Mr. Franklin. We appreciate you participating and answering questions in a civil manner as you have. Okay, we're going to ask a final question. Okay, reducing carbon footprint. How do you plan to reduce emissions in your community?
I go
first, yeah.
So it's so funny that you said that. I just did a video yesterday that's going to be on the Go Green Town of North Hempstead channel. That's why I advocated for pedal share. Pedal share is located at Town Dock, Manor Haven Park, and the train station. And talking about destination, that's another reason why I advocated for pedal share. They can get off the train, get on a bike, and go everywhere in the town of North Hempstead. So yesterday we talked about how we can go from Port Washington to the train station without using a car. And we did it. And it's great. I got a lot of steps in. It was really, really, it was nice to be outside on a beautiful day, but it's very important. We all have to do this. Someone I work with, I carpool a lot with that person, so we only have to use 1 car and not 2. It's really important that we come together and try and think of ways to reduce our carbon footprint.
Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, just very quickly. This is the letter to the attorney. Can you see what the heading says, please?
I have to put my glasses.
Okay, take your time.
Right now, the forum is only for questions
Okay.
from the audience.
Okay, sorry. This is just when she commented on something else other than the question she asked. I just wanted to clear this up.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Okay. Yeah, bicycles, walk. We need to get out and get more fresh air. Electric cars, is the way to go. Just do your best to reduce the footprint. Don't use your car if you don't have to. Use public transportation if you can. Just, as I said, walking is better than anything else. I live on Fairview Avenue. I'd rather walk to the train station than drive. There's nowhere to park there anyway, so.
Before we take closing statements from the candidates, I'd like to remind voters that Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th, at your regular polling place. Early voting begins Saturday, October 28th, and runs through Sunday, November 5th. A recording of this forum will be available on the League of Women Voters of Port Washington, Manhasset YouTube channel within 24 hours. Please put Wednesday, October 25th at 7 p.m. on your calendars. The October 19th. Okay? Now on to closing statements. Put that on your calendar. Thank you. The supervisors forum will be here on October 19th. And the receiver of taxes. Now on to closing statements. Please offer applause to both candidates for their willingness to answer your questions tonight together on the same stage-like area. Thank you. And Ms. Dalimonte,
Okay.
would you please read your closing statement?
I want to express my gratitude to the League of Women Voters and for all of you joining us here on tonight's forum. Here's the key message I want you to leave with. I will never, and I will repeat that, I will never be a rubber stamp for anybody. I have never held a political patronage job, and my family's livelihood is not tied to party politics. No one's going to tell me how to vote. I'm going to vote based on my research. I remain committed to transparency and accessibility. If reelected, I will continue to get things done for our district, and I will continue to involve the community in the process. I am deeply connected to our community and well-versed in its challenges, which I'll continue to bring to Town Hall to enhance our quality of life while keeping spending in check and our taxes low. I'm seeking your vote because as your council person, I'm consistently represented these values. Ensuring the Town Hall genuinely listens to your concerns and incorporates your input into our future vision will remain my highest priority. We've made tremendous progress, and now we need to continue and to protect that progress. I have a list here of all my accomplishments by year. If anyone wants this, I am more than happy to send it to you. I fought with the DEC and I got the governor's office involved to put 2 million oysters in Manhasset Bay. It was not easy. I feel that I am the voice for Manhasset Bay because we need to improve our water quality in Manhasset Bay. And I am working with the Long Island Sound right now to improve our water quality at Manor Haven Beach Park because it got a C+ rating. I'd like to thank you once again for this opportunity tonight. And please remember, I am always here for you.
Mr. Franklin.
Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this together and for keeping us informed and staying responsible as far as government. Thank you all for coming out. I know there was so many other things you wanted to do at 5 o'clock today, but thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions and your interest. As I said, I've been here for 36 years. I know Mariann's been here all her life. This is not a popularity contest, though. We both have a lot of friends in town. This is about who's going to do the best job for you. I've been involved in this community for 36 years through charitable work, through things that there are no photo ops attached to, just things that had to be done during the epidemic, the pandemic rather, collecting food, donating money where it was necessary. No photo op, just doing the job that needed to be done. My kids grew up in this town. They went to school here. We've lived here. This is my home. I've never really had that feeling of community until I got here. And life is good, so you give back, and that's my attitude, and that's why it's about the people. I take no pride in ownership, as I said. If there's a good idea, I don't care who came up with it, Democrat, Republican, let's implement it. This is not right versus left. This is right versus wrong and what's right for the people. I've got the most government experience. I've got the most community experience, and I'm the right man for the job. And given the opportunity, I will serve as I have done for the last 36 years. Thank you.
Thank you to both the candidates, and thank you to everyone in the audience. Thank you for the thoughtful questions and for spending the evening educating yourselves about both candidates and for your engagement with democracy. Voters like you keep our democracy thriving and alive. Thank you.